Hi, welcome to Lynn's Romance Reads. I'm Lynn, and today we're doing a bookshelf tour. So if you've watched my first introduction video, I said I don't really buy that many books. I come from a family of non-readers, so buying books isn't necessarily my first nature. I really enjoy using my library and Kindle Unlimited, and I never really miss a bunch of books, but I do have a couple that are sentimental or I've really enjoyed that I've read for other reasons and had to buy for other reasons. So we're gonna just go through them right here. So I have a little baby bookshelf that's left over from my childhood. So it's a little bare, but first off, I have a box set of the Chronicles of Narnia. This was gifted by my great aunt. When I was a child, she was the only person in my immediate family that was also a reader. And so she gave me this box set of the books when I was about second grade, and I didn't read them until about fourth grade, but I did really enjoy the series. It's been years, but because she gifted them to me, they have a very close sentimental value to me. So I will never be getting rid of these. And I think they're very precious. So next I have my sister's copy of a selection of Arthur Conan Doyle Sherlock Holmes series. I love Sherlock Holmes. The BBC adaptation is my absolute favorite, but any version of Sherlock Holmes I really enjoy. And I have yet to read these because it was my sister's book for school reading. It actually still has the used bookstore stickers on it, but I really enjoy the story, and I'd like to read these at some point. And then I have a book that I read for school, In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I read this my final year of college in an English appreciation literature class. It was comparing 20th and 21st century literature, and I fell in love with the genre of true crime after this class, and so I love this book, and I'm so fascinated by true crime, and I fell in love with the story that Truman Capote was telling, even if its historical accuracy is questioned. And I've really enjoyed following true crime in other aspects, and so you'll see that in the shelves later. Next, I have Capital Gains by Chip Gaines. If you don't know, he's an HGTV TV personality. He and his wife Joanna flip homes in the Waco, Texas area. I have not finished it yet. I actually still have a bookmark in it, but my mom bought it and read it and really thought it was powerful. And so I really enjoy it. It's a life story book, but I find it very interesting, and so I have kept on to it, and eventually I'll finish reading it. Okay. Next, I have Devil in the White City. This is by Eric Larson. This I read this in high school as part of a summer reading assignment. We had a list of about 10 books that were historical in nature that we had to pick from and write a report at the end of this summer. And so I picked Devil in the White City because I went to Barnes & Noble with my list and talked to the person, and they mentioned what the story was about, the juxtaposition of the World's Fair and the serial killer that was preying on the people visiting Chicago during this World Fair. So this is the start of my love of true crime, and so I really enjoyed this book. I was the only person in my class to pick it, and I really enjoyed the story of it and the combination of real life and the World Fair and the scary and grittiness. So I really enjoyed this. And then this I also read during college, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is a post-apocalyptic story. Basically, a pandemic hits the modern world, and we're in our first chapter, and we see kind of the world as it is ending, and we then follow perspectives of everyone, a bunch of people after the world has ended, and how they connect this one famous actor who was like the first real person to die of this pandemic. And it's very gripping. There's a mystery element to this, but it's very minor. I was able to figure it out in the first 2 or 3 chapters, and then had to ask my professor if I was correct on my guesses. But it was very interesting, and I really enjoyed it, and this will be on my shelves for the foreseeable future. So the rest of the shelf doesn't really have anything particular that's a novel that I really enjoy. There's a book on learning how to do calligraphy that I bought at Five Below or something similar. I have a blank notebook that I bought on a whim at a store, and then some old journals. And then I have one more shelf of books. So the next book is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. She started True Crime Diaries, which was an online kind of blog posting about the Golden State Killer, and was really kind of becoming an expert in the field. Worked really closely with the detectives on the various cases, connecting EAR and the original Night Stalker and some of the other infamous cases throughout California under one serial killer. And this was her book that she was writing about it. She tragically died in the middle of it, so it was finished by her lead research helper and another journalist, and I really enjoyed the storytelling in this. It's not a fun read. It's a true crime story about a serial killer that rapes and murders, so it can have pretty heavy and dark and triggering content, but I really loved and enjoyed hearing about this person who just was so intent on finding out the truth and giving justice to the victims and survivors. So I really enjoyed this, which leads into my second book, because after I read that, I found out that the lead detective, Paul Holes, and Billy Jensen had created a podcast, which I highly recommend. It's called Jensen and Holes, The Murder Squad. But Billy Jensen wrote this book, Chase Darkness With Me, which is a bit of a memoir for him, but it also covers his work as an investigative journalist, trying to cover crime in various parts of the country, as well as his advocacy work and using social media to try and find killers and missing suspects and stuff like that. And so it outlines his method and kind of saying, the tools are here if you would like to do this as well. I found it very motivating, and I've really enjoyed following their podcast as well as following their work trying to solve unsolved murders. And I will say his duo Paul Holes came out with a book recently as well that I did read and I did enjoy. I forget the title of it off of the top of my head, but I will pop a cover here. And that one as well is very interesting and cool. It's more of a life story than I wanted. I'm a science nerd, so I was really hoping to get into more details about the science of murder and forensic science and stuff like that, because Paul Holes was originally a forensic scientist in the Bay Area, but that's not really what he covered. And I understand I am a subset of the population that's very fascinated by that and have some knowledge in it already. So what he was talking about was a little not for my eyes, but it was still an amazing book. And then the last two is my childhood collection of Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. This is a book of poetry, followed by illustrations made by Shel Silverstein. He illustrated and wrote the poems. This was just a childhood book that my mom would read from, and we would read whenever. I found it just very unique and quirky, and it puts a smile on my face. And it's a hardback edition. So I love having something from my childhood as a touchstone. We do have some childhood books hidden away, but this one is just a favorite, and so I've held on to it. And the last one I have not read, but this was from my 20th and 21st century literature. We read it in conjunction with V for Vendetta, or we were supposed to, but we had some scheduling issues where we didn't quite get to this book. So it's Imagine Wanting Only This by Kristen Raddick. I think it's Raddick. This was her MFA, I believe, thesis work that she had published. And that's about all I know about it. It's a graphic memoir about loss, love, and confronting grief, according to the inside. So it is a graphic novel with beautiful illustrations. I am not one of the people that normally pick up graphic novels or manga or any other illustrated novels, but I'm holding on to this hoping that one day I'll pick it up and really enjoy it. If not, if I don't enjoy it, I'll hand it off to a Half Price Books or other used bookstore in my area. So that is my very limited shelf tour. I also have some knick-knackety things on the shelves, and I have a section that's dedicated to old college notes from undergraduate and graduate school, and some crafting materials, correspondence things. I like paper goods a lot, so I like to collect that, even though I don't normally write very often. So thank you for joining me on this very short shelf tour. I can go a little bit more in depth because my shelves are pretty small in comparison to most booktubers. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe my content. Please leave a book in the comments just to let me know that I have some viewers, and I'll see you next time.